Hi, I'm John Ed Mathison, and welcome to Go Getters and Go Givers. And thank you for joining us for this podcast. Now, I am really excited about today. And you're going to learn some things, and you're going to hear some things that you can discuss with friends. And this is the 4th of July. Happy birthday, America. And I want us to focus a lot on America and where we are. And young people today, hopefully, will have a better future. And I've got two friends who are here who have more knowledge than you could find most anywhere. They've got a lot of experience. Both of them are generals in the Air Force, retired. And I've had the privilege of knowing both of them. And they not only had a great military career, but now they're deeply engaged in the community. And first, General Ed Crowell. Ed, thank you so much. Ed is, I guess you're chairman of the board of more things in the river region than anywhere, and you're just a great leader in this community. So thank you for that. And then General Bowen Ballard, who is a good friend, and has both of these men have just contributed so much in the whole area of the Air Force. And so thank you all. Let me start, General Ballard, with you. Tell how did you get into this whole thing about Air Force and military, and maybe just briefly something about your career?
Okay, thanks, John Ed. It's a great privilege to be here today with you and Ed. And I hope we're able to contribute something useful to the things we're all thinking about at this special time of year to celebrate for our country and what it's all about, and kind of how we got here. And talking about how I got started in the military, well, I guess it's probably because my dad and my uncle and most everybody else was overseas in World War II, and I can remember as a little person after World War II when they were coming home from overseas. And so that was kind of a legacy and kind of something that we always look to, and we talk about the greatest generation, and they were privileged to be part of that. So it was something that was kind of in my heart and soul to be part of the military. And as it turns out, it wasn't all that easy for me to get in. At first, you didn't have any choice. You took a line number, and if they needed you, you were going somewhere, and then all of that changed. And that little change in itself was interesting because many of the families that had maybe nothing or wanted something from the country, millions of young kids were able to go gain discipline, self-respect, skills, working with others, and having a greater cause than making money or something to do for themselves. So I worked at getting to be able to wear the uniform, and was fortunate to be able to wear it for 38 years. Over some interesting periods of times, from the Vietnam era to what's going on today. And we are, as we speak, in a historic time for the whole world because of the power and the magnitude of events and the millions of people whose lives are changing every day. So that's kind of how I got started. And if I talk too much, I'll be too old, and nobody will listen anyway. Thank you.
Well, hey, that's great. Now, I just had heard one time a wild rumor that you might have a little trouble getting in, and so And so you just memorized a couple of charts to be sure you'd get them. Now, I'm not going to ask you. I'm not going to put you on the spot.
It was the ear chart.
It was.
It was the ear chart.
So that was you, and I'm just glad you made it, and the whole area and what's engaged even today. You are. And Ed, if y'all don't mind me calling you Ed and Bowen, because y'all are both friends. I hadn't ever been around two generals at the same place
and
here.
we won't call you preacher either.
Okay, good. All right, General Crowell, tell us how you got into this.
Well, I grew up in an area where most of the people around me were involved in the services in the Army largely. My grandfather was in the Army in World War II. And my uncle was in the Army, Sergeant Major, and I said, growing up around Fort Benning, Georgia, I had learned so much about the Army. I decided I didn't want any part of it. So my older brother was in the Army, and I said, I'm going in the Air Force. So I decided I was going to go in the Air Force, and one of the things that triggered that, I grew up as a scout in Boy Scout. And I enjoyed wearing my Boy Scout uniform, and the uniform was very gratifying to me, and I really enjoyed being a part of. And so I took what is called the AFOQT, Air Force Officer Qualifying Test, and during that time frame, the test was a 9-hour test, and I always considered myself an average student. But anyway, I took that test, and I scored one of the highest scores one could score on that test. And matter of fact, my scores stand among the highest even today.
Wow.
And this was in 1975 during the time I took the test. But, I was always, I guess, one of the things about me is that once I decided what I wanted to do, I believe in working hard to achieve and to be respectable and good at what I was doing. I grew up in a competitive environment. I ran track, and I worked pretty hard at that. And even today, I've got the fastest time at my high school. So I was able to excel, and then doing that, and it's parallel with patience today, in that if I could see the end, I could accelerate and get there in my early days in running. And then I went in the Air Force, and they said, you got to run 1.5 miles, and I said, I can't do that. And they said, if you're going to get through this program, you're going to do that. So I had to become ingrained with doing that. I had speed, so I had to work on endurance. And it took patience, pacing yourself. So within about a 6-week time frame, I was running 1.5 miles in 8 minutes and 40 seconds.
Wow. And
my PR in the 1.5 miles is 7 minutes and 30 seconds. So I brought my speed with the distance, and today I can boast about having run 40 marathons.
40.
And
now I want to ask you, Bowen, have you done 40, at least 40 in that? You and I, we're going to learn from a man that knows about discipline.
I'm not going to try to beat him, and Ed and I are as close as any two people on the face of this earth. We were comfortable. The only thing I did was, by the time I got to do it, I had to jump out of a helicopter on a slippery skid, wear a 77-pound pack, combat boots, and hold a gun at port arms. And the only reason I finished is because I couldn't face not finishing.
Yeah, and let me say this: General Crowell has continued that. I mean, I know. Could I just, not to embarrass you, but how far did you run today?
5 miles.
Just 5 miles, and the humidity was
100%.
Oh my
goodness! He went by my house before I ever woke up.
Oh, and not only does he do that, but he does push-ups. How many push-ups did you do today?
I do about 100 push-ups, and then I do 100 crunches.
Okay, now
Hey, I did one too.
We did one too. I did a get-up. I got up, but this is a good example. Now, military, you got to be disciplined.
Absolutely.
And you learn that, but it's carried over into your life all the way now. Now, I'd like to ask you, both of you, when you joined the Air Force, did you have any idea that you would become a general? Did that was that a goal, or was it just? I just would be curious.
Well, with me, it wasn't necessarily a goal to become a flag officer general. My goal was to make lieutenant colonel and retire, and I viewed that as having a successful career. Obviously, you never do anything by yourself. So, you work around a lot of people, and people help you and to get there, through hard work, through leadership, and through working with a lot of other people. So when I got to lieutenant colonel, and I'd achieved my goal, and then I had somebody come to me and I said, all right, it's time for me to go. And I had somebody say, no, we've got something else in store for you. And I said, okay. So I got promoted to colonel. And I said, okay, well, now this is a senior officer, so I'll do that, and then I'll retire. So I got to the point as a colonel, and I said, okay, it's time for me to go. And then somebody else came to me and says, no, we've got something in store for you. And I says, okay, because I was always ingrained with service. And, the Air Force has three core values, and I had lived those values before I knew what the values were. And it's integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all you do. So I've lived those most of my life and continue to do that. So,
well, America is a better place because you live that, and for you too also, General Ballard. I mean, what you've done and are doing. Did you have any idea when you joined that you would become? Now I know you not only a general, but you're in intelligence. Now I'm glad to have a friend who is in intelligence. By the way, I went to high school in Opelika. We had mandatory ROTC 2 days a week in high school. And when I got to be a senior, they because I'd made all-state in basketball, they figured they ought to, you're supposed to be an athlete. So they made me the intelligence officer, and all my friends laughed the whole time. But intelligence, and you've helped make some major decisions in America in the past few years, and I want to just personally thank you for that.
Well, there are a lot of opportunities. There is a difference in intelligent and intelligence, and I'm still working on the difference.
Still working on that, yeah.
But intelligence, the only reason I got into intelligence is because I wanted to fly airplanes, which has nothing to do with it. And talk about Ed's making it. I wanted to be a bird colonel because I liked the eagles. Other than that, there was no sensible motivation. And also with one of my setbacks, I found out I could not be an officer, so I had to go in enlisted and take no stripes, and so that gave me a long journey to get to 2 stars and a lot of time. But I'd say one thing, and whatever you're doing, people ask, well, how do you get to be a general? How do you get to be the leader of a global church? How do you get to be involved heavily in education? I think it's simpler than most people think. It's just do your job and then some. And then look around and give everybody else the credit, and you don't have to do a thing. They will take care of you, whether you deserve it or not. So let other people help with everything, and be on the other end of that, help other people, and it brings us all along.
I want to thank y'all for sharing this. This whole podcast started because so many young people watch a lot of the things that I've been doing digitally. And so we started this, and it's been not necessarily geared to young people, but for young people to learn. And I mean, I'm learning, and I'm not even young today, but for you all to share how you got to where you are, and it's ought to be an inspiration to any young person, and that make a difference. Let me ask you this: and maybe this is not a good, fair question, but I know you hear sometimes people say, well, the quality of young people we're getting into the military might not be as good as it used to be when I came along. And but my impression has been that in the last few years, I know the recruiting numbers are high, the quality of people are high, and it just seems like we've got a great future here in America with the people who are like you two, who have set the standard, and then we have young people coming into it. And one thing about being pastor of this church and with Maxwell Air Force Base, I've just been amazed at the quality of people who are in the Air Force and in other branches of the service also. And in fact, one of the things I got criticized a lot about, I didn't go to the seminary to look for somebody to serve on the staff. I went to Maxwell to see who's retiring. And we had more colonels and lieutenant colonels who were on our church staff, and I learned real quickly they're smart. And they don't start fires, and they know how to put out fires. And that was kind of the folks I want. But that's the kind of example that you guys have set, and that makes such a difference. If you had in a minute, if you could just say, if you had something to say to young people today, today's youth, 2025, let's just say high schoolers, college kids, if you just had a tidbit of advice for them, what would it be, General Crowell?
I would say, just point blank, you've got whatever it takes to propel to whatever level you want to, and use your talent wisely. Think about what it is you want to do. Become acquainted with what it takes to achieve the level you want to achieve, and don't settle for anything less. Be kind to others around you, because you don't do and you don't get to be anything by yourself. You've got to work with other folks, you've got to appreciate other folks, and you've got to earn people's respect. Don't expect any gifts. Earn those gifts, and you will be good, and you will feel good. Set goals, but as you set goals, set peripheral goals, in that these are what I refer to as small goals, as part of your big goal. And you do that because you're going to achieve those, and it makes you feel better in going toward the big goal because you've had some success. And that's what it's all about. But the bottom line is, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Take your time, learn patience, and things will be great for you. But don't hesitate to get out and help others. The need never goes away, and don't worry about, as General Ballard had said, don't worry about patting yourself on the back. That'll come.
Bowen, that's good preaching. Now, let me tell you, I'm not getting into your business, so but you've already gotten into mine and doing a better job with it. So thank you for that.
Well, I got to spend some time in recruiting service in San Antonio, and it can be difficult, but we've seen a change lately. We've all heard it, is we are now not behind, we are ahead in our recruiting goals, and that's a good thing. People, anybody, likes to be part of something good. And the word that we've had that's come up so much in the last several years is patriots. Patriots is an all-encompassing word. It can have to do with the church and what you believe, and you're patriotic to your beliefs and to the country and to team efforts. And there's a comfort in that. And I think there's a comfort in people joining the effort of being in the service, something they want to be proud. Not only can they learn a skill, not only can they protect the country, but they're part of something good and solid, and that is a growth component that I think you can only experience out of the service in church.
Mm-hmm. And I want to say to everybody, these guys are deeply engaged in church. I mean, they're not just military people out there fighting a war. They know how to live at home, and they know where their values are. And y'all are just great, great leaders. And what's most impressive to me is now both of you are retired, per se. And both of you are probably busier than you've ever been. I mean, General Crowell, you are chairman of the board of more things in the river region than I know of. I'd say 6 or 7 or 8 things. Your life is dedicated to service in the river region. And Bowen, you're the same way. I slipped into a church worship service, and guess who was sitting right in front of me, and he never saw me? It was General Ballard. And he was then talking with the pastor about doing some things later. I mean, y'all are engaged, and that's important. And if you sit down and retire and do nothing, you don't live long. Right. And both of you are pretty old guys now, so you're doing really good, and you're real healthy, and we had to walk up steps, and we're doing good. But I just want to thank you for your service and what you're doing. Looking forward, as Americans, I'm very optimistic. I think hopefully we can come back to some of our basic things that our forefathers gave us and can move forward that. You guys represent that. You guys have embodied that, and you've always done that. And so I hope young people, when they hear your word, neither one of you started out with a golden spoon in your hand. Nobody gave you anything. But both of you took what you had and let God use it, and then he molded you into really great men. So I want to personally thank you. And I just know a few personal things. There's a breakfast that we go to sometimes on Saturday morning, and they're just a group of fine leaders. And I've just heard more things about you, too, about things that you're doing. I mean, General Ballard, I know in business you've been successful. But I know an incident where somebody was in trouble and you didn't have anything to do, have to help out, but you went not only the mile but the extra mile to help out these people and made a difference in their lives. And just what's happened with Jackson Hospital, I don't know how many hours you've put into that, General Crowell, but I mean, you have given leadership unbelievable, and it's going to make it. It's going to be good, and that's just a way in which we're going. So I want to thank you guys for being a part of this for America. It's the 4th of July. It's a great celebration. I hope people will just spend some time. Thank God for letting us live in this great country and ask for God's leadership. And I hope that we'll all be praying for our leaders, our military. People just have no idea what you guys go through. And I just know even now, even though you're retired, you still have a lot of clearance and you get asked for a lot of advice. So I want to just thank you for that. Is there anything you'd like to just say to the public as such, as a retired general and moving forward for young people?
I would like to say to the young people, don't take things for granted. As we're about to embark upon the 4th of July, that's huge. But I want you to realize and recognize nothing just happened. You've got to make it happen. And you do that through getting up, being involved, working with others, and helping. It's important to realize where we are in today's environment and this time in the world. We're in a very, very good place, but this just didn't happen. There have been a lot of sacrifices to get us here. And the bottom line is, it's unfortunate, but there are just people in this world don't like us. And it's not because of something we've done, but they just don't like us. So you got to recognize that, and you got to work hard to sustain where we are and to take us further. Because if we begin to get in a reversal mode, then there are others gonna step forward, and then we will become second to others. So do your part and entice others to do their parts, and everything will be just fine.
Thank you. Bowen, you've always given me a lot of good advice. I've gone to you when I've had big questions, and you've always given me such good, sound advice, and I want to thank you for that.
Well, sitting here today, 4th of July, how could we be so fortunate or just plain lucky to be born in the United States of America, sitting right here in Montgomery, able to look at what is ours? And all I can say is we should be thankful to people around us, opportunities, and thankful to God, which is the most important of anything that we have to think about. And thank goodness that in itself is coming back in ways that we may have never seen before. So thankful to God is the main thing that we all should be thankful for.
Absolutely.
Wow, thank you. And thank for both of you. And thank you for what you're continuing to do in our community. And I personally want to thank you for my friendship with you and the things I've learned of life from you. And I hope today that you've learned some things. Here are two great men, two men who really achieved. They're go-getters, but they did it in order to be a go-giver. And they're giving so much in life. And I hope that we all learn that. And America has a history of doing unbelievable things with God's help, not by ourselves. In fact, the psalmist said, unless the Lord guards the city, those who guard it do so in vain. And may we recommit ourselves to what these generals have talked about, a commitment to God. And you got a goal for every person. You're important in the sight of God, and you're important to America. And let's work together. Let's join hands and make this the kind of country that God would want it to be. Thank you guys so much, and I just appreciate what you're doing and look forward to working with you in the future. And thank you for joining us.